Welcome to Retro Lobbying, where the art of poetry and intelligence has survived. Hi everyone, and welcome back to Retro Lobby Inc. Today my camera is very wonky, so we're just going to have to bear through this. This is an important video, but we're not going to be talking about writing at all today. This video is going to teach you how to help yourself in another universe and how to help the multiverse as well. Now, I was supposed to do this video months and months, and I'll say months again, months ago, and I haven't done it for the simple reason I tend to hold certain things that are very sacred to me, and I tend to hold on to them very tightly. And I don't really tend to give away my secrets or anything at all very often. The people who know me the best on the whole planet probably is my children, and I can say one other person. So anyway, I'm going to give you some background on me very briefly. Okay, how I grew up. As most of you know who are good friends with me, I grew up in church. Down in the deep south, down in Florida, in the Panhandle area, and from a very early age, I was always having nightmares. Now, when I would have a nightmare, and this was when I was really little, like 3, 4, or 5 years old, probably even younger than that, I would have nightmares, and whenever I woke up, whatever I was dreaming would appear in my bedroom. Literally, it was there in my bedroom. Now, some people would say, that's night terrors. I don't necessarily believe in night terrors because it was there in my room physically. And my dad, oh my God, my poor dad, he would, rush down the hallway and fling open the door and turn on the light. And, he would ask if I was okay. And he says, Karen, it's not here. It's not real. But it was always real to me. So from an early age, I think my parents just thought, oh my God, we need to send her to church. Whatever is bothering her won't bother her at church. Well, when I went to church, I'd either go with my aunt or my grandfather and my granny. And my grandfather was a brimstone and fire preacher. And he was preaching up in this little church north of my house. And it was one of these little bitty churches that was built in the early 1900s, had to have been. And he would always, when he got too excited, he would start screaming from the pulpit, and it really freaked me out, because I would always hear no false prophets, no this, no that, no sorcerers, no witches, on and on it went, and I was always, I have to say, I grew up being the most paranoid child, I think, ever, because I would always think, oh my God, what if they found out I dreamt the future? What if they found out I don't really stay in my bed at night and I'm going to other places? And that's how I viewed it, just other places, not other dimensions or other universes at the time. And I was just so paranoid, kind of like a gay person in the closet, that type of repression, except I'm not gay. But that's how I felt. I felt very repressed, and that kind of heaviness that goes along with it, that's so, just horrible and heavy. And and even my granny would get ticked off with my grandpa. A lot of people don't know this because, I used to go with my granny and grandpa to church at such a young age. And my brother, oh my God, he maybe 4 or 5. And maybe younger than that. But my granny would get mad at my grandpa. And she always had these hard candies, in her purse. And, with a crinkly paper. And she would get so mad at him sometimes. And she'd start crinkling the paper, and looking at my grandpa, And it was a sight to see, because this was a little woman. She was littler than me. She was 4'5". She had polio in one leg, so she always limped. She always had to have grandpa, take her around everywhere. But here was this little bitty woman, kind of like fighting against this big giant 6-foot man, and she would crinkle that paper, and she'd whisper in my ear, and she'd say, Karen, would you like a piece of candy? And then she'd do the same to my brother, and my grandpa got so mad at her one time. And my granny, she's Native American, and she's half Native American. But I think what she did was she held on to her Native American values and didn't tell many people, because she has taught me things since she has passed. Many things about crystals and rocks and things of that nature. And she used to collect rocks everywhere she went. And I think Granddaddy just thought, it was something she did. It wasn't for any specific reason, really. But anyway, she got mad at him, and they had a tiff in the middle of a sermon one day. And nobody knows that except me and my brother and the congregation, which probably has long passed away because they were all old people. So anyway, I grew up, and I was always so paranoid. But there was a specific time, and this was long before the Stargate movie ever came out, that I had a dream. And there was this, let me just tell you, between my mom's house and my aunt's house, there was this very long strip of land, and it was maybe 12 feet wide, and it just kind of divided the land. And I had a dream that, my brother was missing, and oh my God, I had to find my brother. Heaven forbid my brother be missing. And, because, you're always taught when you're growing up, you have to look after your brother or sister. That's just how it is. You have to look after them. You have to know where they are. So anyway, I went to, that long strip of land, and there was suddenly a clearing there. And it was a clearing going horizontal. And it was a very wide clearing. And suddenly there appeared a white Cadillac car with the fins on it. And it was convertible. And it had, red seats. And there was these older people in it, like teenagers, And they say, and I was maybe, God, I must have been around 7 or so. And 7 or 8. And I'm 40. For most of you who don't realize that, I am 40 years old. I know I don't look 40. I was born in 1973. Okay, I am. I don't know what the new 40 is. I don't know. I didn't feel 40 when I turned 40, so I don't know. I didn't feel 40 at all. But anyway, there was this clearing, and there was these older kids in there, and they were probably teenagers. And they said, "Karen, come on, you gotta go. We gotta go right now." And I was like, "Now I have to find my brother." And they said, "Karen, we will help you find your brother when we get back, but we have to go now." And I thought, okay. And this was long before the Stargate movie came out. And all of a sudden, this big white light opened up, and I had jumped in the car, and we went, and we were gone. And so we were in another universe with another Earth. And we ended up at this gigantic stadium. And it was a gigantic baseball game going on. And I looked at the billboard, and it said USA versus Japan. And I was like, what the hell? What is going on? And they said, well, we don't have war here. And I said, oh, really? And they said, yes. Whoever wins this game gets that particular country. And I thought, oh, my. And I just thought, well, I hope the U.S. wins then. What else do you want me to, think about it? And then, of course, I came home, and I guess I woke up the next day. Excuse me. But that's how most of my dreams are. I'm always going somewhere. I'm always traveling somewhere else. My children do the same thing. We may look asleep, but we're not necessarily here. A lot of people do dream that way. A lot of people are in other dimensions when they're asleep. They just do not realize it. Unless you have very mundane dreams, you're elsewhere. Most of the time, 99% of the time. But what I wanted to say is, in my turn 33, everything that I was dreaming or thought or spirits that I could hear became like magnified, like 1,000,000 times over. And when that happens, it can drive someone completely mad. I mean, it really can. It takes a lot to keep your brain together and to be able to listen to angels and concentrate. It's not a very easy thing to do. But what happened in 2010 disturbed me to the point where I thought, oh my God, what am I going to do? I was asleep in 2010 on my couch, and suddenly I was in this gigantic castle, and I'd never been in this particular place before. And I had a lady in waiting, and she was very sick, And I knew I had to get her to the doctor. And I said, come on, I'm going to get you to the doctor. So I got the carriage guy. I guess he would be called the footman. That's what my daughter says, he's called the footman. And and because I couldn't remember what the guy was called who drove the carriage, she said, well, why didn't you ask me? Mom, I read fairy tales all the time. But anyway, so I got his help. We got in this carriage. And by what I mean carriage is, I mean late 1800s, early 1900s type of carriage. It's a convertible carriage. And it had horses attached to it. And all of a sudden, we're going very fast down this road. And it's not even really a road. For any of you who have been on a country road where there's just 2 places for the wheels to go and that's it. That's what this looked like. And then further out, there was just meadows everywhere. And then further back from that, there was just forest everywhere, and we were going so fast. And I had in my hand something very similar to an iPad, but it had a very, weird chunky frame on it. And all of a sudden, I look up from what I'm looking at, and all of a sudden I see all these werewolves coming in like this, at a diagonal straight at us. Now, I'm thinking at this point I'm asleep, and there's no reason to be alarmed because, I'm asleep. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking, there's nothing to worry about here. So, I'm typing something really fast on this weird iPad thing. I go to hit send, and all of a sudden I feel this big bite right here on my shoulder. And for the first time in my life, I jumped up out of my sleep off the couch, and I stared at the couch. And I pulled down my shirt, really quick to check if I was actually bit. Now, I did not have any animals in my house at this time. I still don't have animals in my house, although I do want an English bulldog, like something terrible. But I do, I really do. But and so I was so dumbfounded by the whole experience. And I think at that particular moment, I was a walk-in for that particular Karen because I knew I was me. And a walk-in is where a spirit or a person experiences something else in another person's body, and because it's too chaotic for them to deal with. And I think for that particular moment, I was the walk-in for myself in another universe. And it really disturbed me because I knew this particular Karen was going to become a werewolf, and I was so upset about it. I just didn't know what to do. And for a year this went on, and I was, I just thought, well, what in the world am I going to do? How can I possibly help her? And for some reason, in this particular universe, the werewolves are more prominent there. I don't know why. I have no explanation for that, really. So I kept trying to figure out, how can I get back? How can I get back? And finally I decided, well, I'm just going to meditate. And I'm going to see if I can get back to her. And let me just stop for a minute and tell everyone this right now. For every universe, there is a you in that other universe. That person is not going to be the same as you. They may look exactly like you. They could be slightly different. They could be completely different. They could have different eating habits. They could be heavy. They could be skinny. They could... they're not going to be exactly the same as you because every universe is on a different frequency, okay? So don't get confused. If you have visions of yourself or you see yourself on another timeline or anything of that nature, do not get confused because that person is not you. You are unique in this universe, just as the other Karen or the other Jacob or whatever is unique in the next universe, okay? You may look the same, but you're not. So anyway, so getting back to the story, I meditated and I did reach her. I did reach the other Karen, and she was sitting in front of this gigantic vanity, and she was getting ready for this ball, and she had on this beautiful gown, and her hair was all up, and she's putting on her makeup and all this kind of stuff. And I said, is there anything I can do to help you? And she said, yeah, never get bit. And all of a sudden, this wooden door from behind her slams open, right? And the guy that had bit her is now her husband, right? And I'm like, oh shit. And he says, well, who are you talking to? And she says, no one, I was talking to myself. But werewolves are very psychic, and he could hear her. So that was the whole thing. But the very bizarre thing about this whole thing is that I know the person in this universe, that's the same person in that universe, the same man, I should say. And it's kind of a little bit creepy, to say the least. Anyway, so the next time I experienced something really horrific and tragic was here in this house, in this room. This is my bedroom. And I was asleep in my bed, and suddenly I was in another universe, another place. And it looked like the San Francisco Bridge, looked very much like the San Francisco Bridge. And there was carnage and dead bodies everywhere. I mean, it was just really horrible. And my children were there. Lily and Brianna was there. And so what I did was I grabbed onto my crystal quartz while I was asleep for dear life to anchor myself here, because I knew I was another walk-in. And I had grabbed onto both my children's hands for dear life, and we were walking through this carnage, and I was so terrified, you know, that this was real. I literally thought this was real and this was my life. Okay, this is how scared I was. And I'm not easily scared at all when it comes to going in other universes or anything of that nature. I mean, I've seen planets explode. I've seen supernovas, you know, while I've been asleep. You know, just I'm not easily scared. But this time I was I was terrified because my children were there, and I was very worried. And so finally, I just had all this peace that we were going to be okay. You know, I had just all this peace, and I thought, well, okay, you know, everything's going to be fine. They're going to be okay. Me and the girls were going to be okay. And so I woke up for a split second, and when I did, I saw my ceiling. And you know, then I fell back asleep because I was exhausted. And then I woke up one more time, and I saw the ceiling, and I thought to myself, oh my God, I hope I'm home. And I turned my head, and there was my window, and I was never so happy in my life that me and my children were safe and at home. You know, I cannot tell you how happy I was that day to know that I was safe and my girls were safe, you know. And so I was so upset, and I kept wondering, how can I help myself in another universe? There's got to be a solution to this. There's got to be a way where I can help myself and help Lily and Brianna in another universe, you know. And because when you see something like that, such a big catastrophe, you know, and you're there in it, and it's not just some planet exploding where you've never been before, but this is, you know, this looks like the United States, feels like the United States, you know, and your children are there. It's very just heart-wrenching, you know. Okay. So what I decided to do was I was going to write down this whole catastrophe that happened in another dimension or universe, and I was going to somehow find out how to solve this whole problem and have a solution to it by the end of that poem. Now, camera, quit being wonky, please. Please work properly. Anyway, so I sat down to write the poem, and what happened was by the end of the poem, I really didn't have any solution, and I thought, okay, well, you know, there's got to be a solution. How can I fix this? Now our angels say in my right ear, you have to send love, light, and blessings to them. So what I started doing is I started going into meditation on the crystal wheel, which is from a very famous witch here in the United States. Her name was Lori Cabot. And I do her meditation every week. But I don't read it the way I used to. I'll skim over it and then just go into meditation, count backwards. I will put the link below if you want to do her meditation, but you can count backwards slowly to go into meditation as well. So what I do is I go to the crystal wheel, and it's usually a color, you know, whatever color it is. I think this week it's white. Yes, it's white. Okay, so what I do is I go into meditation, and I hold my hands out like this, like a bowl. And you don't have to do this physically. You can do this in your mind. And what I do is I say, love, light, blessings, health, abundance, and wealth to the multiverse. And what will happen is a ball of energy will form in your hands, okay? It will be whatever color the crystal wheel is. Okay, and then I say it again. Love, light, blessings, health, abundance, and wealth to the multiverse. And it'll grow bigger again, the ball of energy. And then I say it one more time. And then I say it one more time. Love, light, blessings, health, abundance, and wealth to the multiverse. And what will happen next is it will go really fast and it will release every way possible into the multiverse. And that's what I do every week. Now, I used to just do love, light, and blessings, but because most of the world is in such an economic crisis, I added wealth to it. I added abundance to it because abundance can be anything. Abundance doesn't necessarily mean wealth to some people. It means you know, just having enough to survive sometimes, or having enough to feed their family, or, you know, whatever it may be. Abundance can mean anything. And health, I added health to it because there's so many people who are sick, you know, and for different reasons. And, you know, sometimes I'm not as healthy as I could be, and you know, sometimes my children get sick and whatnot. So that's what I do every week. Excuse me, I'm losing my voice a bit. Every week at the crystal wheel. Sometimes I do it twice a week if I feel it needs to be done. But I have to say, since I've been doing that over the last year, I have had feedback from those other universes I've been to, and things have changed. The other me that was bit by the werewolf, she's fine now. I don't specifically know what has happened, but she's fine. She's happy, and you know, that's all good. And the catastrophe, the other me is fine as well. I got some feedback about a month ago on both of them. So eventually you will get feedback from yourself. I think in the higher scheme of things, I would have been their higher selves, because we're all duplicates, you know, but we're not the same. And I think, yes, there's another Karen out there who knows more than me, who's, you know, more spiritually aware, who's higher up in the dimensional levels. As far as so basically what I'm saying is, you may be a higher self for another version of yourself in a universe. That's what I'm saying. Now, what the New Agers will say is that we are avatars, and this is we are up on the 22nd dimension, and this is an avatar. Okay, I don't necessarily believe that, because that has not been my experience. I've never experienced myself as an avatar. I've always experienced myself as being me and who I am. Occasionally, lately though, when I've been in the higher dimensions and talking to other beings, sometimes I will change form. But it's only happened twice ever. So, you know, for the most part, I am who I am. So I don't necessarily believe I'm way up there in the 22nd dimension and I'm an avatar sitting here. I don't believe that, because it's not been in my experience. But anyway, I hope that helps some of you. I know some people are like, ooh, meditate, go see what your other selves are up to so you can steal from them. You know, I don't necessarily think that's quite ethical. Why would you want to steal from yourself? Why would any, you know, I don't really get that. I don't think it's ethical, because that's another human being out there. That person may look like you, and they may act like you to a certain extent, but are they actually you? No, because here in this universe, we're on a different frequency. In another universe, they're on a different frequency. So let's say, for example, I like pancakes, but maybe the other Karen doesn't. You know, I don't think it's ethical. I think it's better to help every species, you know, everyone, every species that we can. Um, that's how I feel about it. I don't think we should steal from one another, and basically that's what quantum jumping says. It says, oh, go ask your other self, go take from your other self something and bring it back here. You know, you can learn from someone without literally taking it. Do you understand what I'm saying? You can learn from them, yes, but not to literally. They say it in such a way that makes you think they're taking their gift almost, and it's kind of creepy. You know, it's kind of creepy. It's okay to learn from, you know, your other self, but to actually kind of steal information is, I think, very unethical. Anyway, I was working on a quotes of extraordinary video when my computer went crazy and decided to die on me and crash. So I will be uploading that in a few days probably, and getting them all done, unless I decide to actually get on video and actually blog about it. I don't know. Some people like long videos, some people like short videos. You know, who knows? I don't think it matters. I listen to both. Anyway, love you all. Blessings to you all. For everyone in the U.S., I hope you all had a wonderful 4th of July. Rained here the whole time. Then the next day, one of my favorite trees fell over in the neighbor's yard. So it was just like, anyway. Bye. Love you all.